Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Leaving a Rich at Legacy. I am your host, Jessica Rich, and I'm so excited to have Christian with me here today to share a little bit about her story and all the amazing things that she's doing. Christian, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's good to see you again.
Yes. And Christian and I met through the Black Girl Social Club. And this is one of those experiences where you have something in common with your business. You can cross over when it comes to business ideas, questions, support, which I think is extremely important for women, especially business owners. So I'm so excited we get to connect again. For our guests, as you all know, this podcast really is a love letter to my younger self. So, this is an opportunity to highlight different topics that we do not often discuss in the Black and Brown community. And I'm just excited for Christian to tell us all the amazing things that she's doing, as I know so many women may be able to relate. So, Christian, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Who is Christian?
So, first of all, my first title is being a mom. I am a mom. I have three children and I have a bonus son. So, I'm also a stepmom. So, I have children out of all different dynamics. They're in totally different age groups. So, we have my bonus son who is 23. I have my oldest son who is 17. And I also have a daughter who is just about to turn 7. And I have a 1 year old. So that's my first title. I'm also a wife. I have a business, the Mom Wellness Cave, which is a mom community to help support moms on their motherhood journey. And beyond all that, I'm just a woman who enjoys life and enjoys, people, supporting others, and just everything that comes with life, honestly.
I love that. I love also when you shared who you are, you're also a woman, because I think sometimes we can forget when we wear so many hats. So I
Yep.
love that you included that about yourself. So the Mom Wellness Cave, you're doing a lot with that community and for mothers. So I want to ask you, why is it so important for you to provide moms a safe space, during their motherhood journey?
Most importantly, because I feel like when it comes to moms, we're kind of expected to just be everything for everyone, but not really put that time into ourselves. And a lot of moms really secretly feel unsupported. So I wanted to really just provide like an outlet. So first of all, a support system of other moms who share the same type of issues that we all deal with, so a community to be able to relate to. But then also a lot of moms don't have a strong support system, so being able to meet other moms that can possibly like help you on your motherhood journey, and then being able to empower moms and get them out the house and have events and experiences, as opposed to being at home with the kids. Sometimes we're overstimulated, so just really giving moms that outlet, those experiences, and that support, because that's super important to me, because that was something that I didn't have when I first became a mom. And once I got that, I noticed that there's still so many moms that doesn't have that or doesn't feel like they deserve to have that. So me just being able to reach back my hand in and pull them on, on that journey with me.
So speaking of you being a mom and being able to relate to women, you were a teen mom.
Mhm. Yep.
And how was that for you? What was that experience like?
If I'm being totally honest, it was devastating. It was very, very devastating. It was a really hard journey because, first of all, I had my son when I was 17, so I'm in my senior year of high school. I always was a straight A student, so I'm expecting to go to college. I'm watching all of my friends go off to college, and I had to stay back because I had just had a child. And like you dealing with babysitting issues, and his dad wasn't like 100% where he needed to be at that time. So watching, kind of like my life change from what I expected it to be, really was a huge, I'm not gonna say burden, but it really changed my thoughts to where I really resented motherhood, if I'm being honest. And you don't want to bring a child into the world with those type of feelings, but at the same time, obviously it was something that I was able to get over. But in the beginning, also just having that limited support, because I come from a generation of where my mom was a teen mom. My mom had me at 15 years old. And my mom was a great mom, but at the same time, she was a child too that was still learning. So her having to navigate those struggles and her constantly pointing to me like, I want you to have something better for yourself. I felt like I disappointed my family. I felt like that pretty much like my life was over. So that was the hard one of the hardest times in my life, if I'm being honest.
Wow. How do you feel like you overcame it, as in the earlier years of your child's life?
Yeah, I would say honestly making that decision that that's not where my story ends, because it was easy for me to sit there and think about, I guess, the bad in the situation per se, but just looking down at now a whole human life that's dependent on me, I really was determined to really be able to show him like we go through things and we live life and we make certain decisions that may not be time appropriate, because I'm not even going to say it wasn't the best decision because that's my baby, but at the same time like it may have not been the right time, but your story doesn't end there. So I've always been determined to really show him that even though you may have these hurdles, you can overcome. So a lot of my ambition per se came from me wanting to prove to him and then also prove to others, because there were a lot of people that counted me out. It seems like, especially back in the day, 17 years ago, there was such a huge stigma around teen pregnancies. You were pretty much counted out. So that also drove me to really be able to be like, you know what, I want to prove to people like, that's not it. I'm going to do good. I'm going to do well. I'm going to succeed. So that's where a lot of it came from. It was like a mixture of wanting to prove other people wrong, wanting to prove to myself that I can do it, and then wanting to really be like that good example for my son. So I really just poured everything I had. And I'm not going to say it was easy. I struggled so bad. There were times when I had to catch the bus to my son. I remember when I was going to college and I'm going to college in the morning, then going to work, and then going back to college at night. We would fall asleep in the library studying, like he was in the gym with me. So but we got it done. And this is he's in his junior year getting ready to go to college. We just did a college tour, and he's expecting to go to college. So it's like, oh, it paid off, but it was a hard journey.
I love how you talked about the struggles, right? But then you also overcame it. So I'm sure a lot of women can relate, but then also some younger moms can be inspired that like you can get over the hump,
Mhm.
you and your child. So thinking about, your teen pregnancy, you said that you were straight A student, like you had these goals for yourself. And even though it didn't look exactly like you expected, like you still were able to be successful. How did being a teen mom affect your relationship with your peers at the time?
You know what? I feel like that's another reason why I made the Mind Wellness Cave, because of the relatability aspect, being able to be around other moms that can relate to what you go through as a mother. Because for the most part, I had some friends that it didn't really affect it, but I also had some friends that really just didn't understand that there were boundaries that had to be in place. I couldn't hang out all the time. I really pretty much couldn't hang out at all because I had a child that was dependent on me. But I can give you like one situation of where I remember going to this club in downtown Detroit. And it seemed like every time I would go out, there would be a shooting that would take place. Like it was crazy. And this one particular time, these guys were like getting into it and they started shooting in the parking lot. And I remember running to my car, went home, and I was just like so traumatized from it that I was like, you know what? The club scene is not for me. Like I was so excited because I was just turning 21 and able to get into the clubs. And I quickly was like, you know what? That's not it. And I thought to myself, I'm like, you know what? It won't be the person that, the people that are shooting back and forth. It'll be the mom that's out here trying to make a way for their child and trying to do the right thing, or be the person to get hurt. And if something happens to me, who's going to take care of my child? So I remember having to explain that to friends or whatever. And it's like they really didn't grasp it. It's like I guess being funny because I can't hang out or because I can't do certain things. But I ultimately just had to set those boundaries and, find other things that I could do necessarily like sometimes with myself or just with my son. We weren't on the same path at that time just because of the fact of the responsibilities that I had that they didn't have. So it was a little hard for them to understand.
Yeah. I guess I can see that. Um, at that age, right? You're trying to live a
Mhm.
certain lifestyle. You want to enjoy life a certain way,
Yep.
but you realizing your responsibilities and not only your responsibilities, like you got to get home to your baby. So
Mhm.
you can't put yourself in harm's way. So thinking about just the experience you had as a teen mom, even the relationships with your peers, how did you becoming a mom at 17 inspire you to build this community for women? You kind of touched on you building a community because of that, but like, what exactly about that experience inspired you?
Yeah, so um for the most part, I was just really grinding away, focused on my situation and trying to, make sure that I had stability for my son. And then COVID happened. So when COVID happened, first of all, I was working at this job, traditional corporate job in logistics, and I was doing great. I worked my way up, was promoted constantly, had awards, everything, but I still felt so unfulfilled. And sometimes I would feel bad because I'm like, you know what? I prayed to God for these type of this job with these great benefits, and like, am I ungrateful? You know what I'm saying? I'm living a great life. But at the same time, there was just something in me where I felt like I wasn't doing enough as far as like to be able to make a better impact on other people's lives. Like, I don't know. And when I was younger, I always looked up to my grandmother. She was a humanitarian. We would go feed the homeless, do all types of stuff. So it's always been in my heart to reach back and help people. So when COVID was going on, as you may know, a lot of moms were struggling trying to be able to parent their children while they're still having to work from home and the kids are doing online schooling. And it was just such a mess and so chaotic. And I just feel like us as a society kind of looked over it, and I know there was a whole bunch of other things going on, but it just really furthered my point of moms are not supported in a way that they should be. And so I started my organization, my first organization, Ambitious with a Purpose, where I started like coaching moms. And then once the world opened back up, I started doing like speaking events where I would like empower moms. And then I would do events here and there. I created a guided journal to kind of help moms to be able to make sure that they're taking their time for themselves, pouring into themselves, writing affirmations, doing self care, all of that type of stuff. And then what I started to realize was that it it needed to be more community based. So then that's when I started to build out the Mom Wellness Cave, because what I started to see was that a lot of moms don't necessarily have someone that they can drop their kid off with to go to an event. So I started to make events where some events you can bring your children, and creating that community also like within our Facebook group where they're able to meet each other and see each other at events and exchange numbers, and they can be each other's support system. It goes like way further than even myself. So that's what pretty much inspired me. COVID had a lot to do with it. Feeling very unfulfilled in the corporate world had a lot to do with it. And just really wanting to reach back in and give moms the support and encouragement that they need, because a lot of moms honestly feel like sometimes when they have children that their life is over, and that's not true. Honestly, your life is a different version of your life is just beginning.
I love the last part. A different version of your life is just beginning. It's a different season. It just
Yeah.
looks different. It's your daily lifestyles. So,
Mhm.
love what you're doing in the community, in your community. I see your Instagram page. You and I specifically connected on self care because it's important to both of us. So,
Mhm.
I would love to hear your thoughts on why it's so important for moms to practice self care.
Yeah, I think it's important because what I've seen just from me growing up and I would say, like a black household, a lot of times when we aren't taking care of ourselves properly, it can translate into the way that our children are are taken care of, or how they feel. Sometimes the frustrations come out in a way of where it has nothing to do with the actual child. You know what I'm saying? It's more so of just being frustrated with you not taking care of yourself. So say for instance, like with myself, with my mom, I watched my mom take care of herself. My mom always kept her hair done. She kept our hair done. She would go out from time to time. She did that. But I will also see, like, in my friends' households and the things that they went through where their moms were maybe not taking care of themselves properly, overworked, didn't have a support system, which my mom had limited support as well. But you can just tell, like, the way that they poured into their children, they weren't even setting that proper example for their children. So for instance, I have a daughter. My daughter is going to see most of the time the best version of me, and she knows that it's okay when she have children to be able to pour into herself, because I watched that from my mom. And a lot of people don't get to see that. A lot of times we have this generational trauma simply because moms are overworked, overstimulated, and they're not taking care of themselves, and is leading to things like burnout. I went through a season of burnout of where, I was trying to be everything to everyone while still being a mom, and showing up to all the school events and volunteering for everything, to where my hair would come out. I would have stress hives, and I had to set those firm boundaries in place and make more time to say no so I can have more time to pour into myself. And ultimately, it's just something that I hear a lot of moms say that they can't do it, but I just think that sometimes they need to just see that representation, and someone needs to let them know that it is possible to be able to do that.
I definitely believe that the representation is there. I'm sure that you're sharing like your insight with your community.
Yeah.
Um, with you being a mom and also a business owner, you're planning events, you're a wife. Can you share how you practice self-care?
Yeah. So number one, I will dump those kids on my husband anytime. Okay. Because I feel like that's another thing. The gender roles have to go. It's always been perceived that the mom is the caretaker and she's the one that does everything. No, we both had these kids, so it's a 50-50 type situation. So if I'm being honest, if I'm being totally transparent, I feel like my husband might do a little bit more in that area. But it's just being able to understand and being able to communicate, like, with your spouse or with your partner, that, hey, I need some me time, so I want to go out to this event, I want to do this, I want to do that. And when I'm home, me making sure that I'm being super intentional and present while I'm here and with the kids and everything, but being able to take that time for myself and vocalize that I need that time. So going to the spa, getting a facial, I have that book for next week. Journaling. I love journaling. I love just going down to the water. Like, before my dad passed away, we would go down and fish all the time. So that was like our thing. And sometimes even if we didn't fish, we would just go to the water. So even now, it's going to be a lot harder this year to do that, but that's something that I want to get back into. And then just, I guess, just making sure that I'm just setting firm boundaries with people, because I feel like for a long time I didn't do that, and I would be doing every single thing for everyone else, and then I wouldn't have time to just be. And one of my even most favorite things to do is just sit still. That's it. Just take that time to watch maybe a true crime documentary on Netflix, binge watch it all day long, and don't get out the bed except to use the bathroom and get something to eat, and just be, because you don't even have to always be doing something for it to be self-care. Self-care is really just taking care of self in any way that you know how. And those are my things. It doesn't have to be an extravagant spa day. And I love a spa day, but it doesn't have to be that. Just doing something that you love, that's gonna help you to rest and be still.
There's something as simple as being still and whatever that looks like, right? It could be different for all of us,
Yeah.
but just I like to say, I just want to be Jessica. Like in this
Yeah.
moment, I just
Yeah.
want to be Jessica. I don't want to be doing anything else but
Yep.
just be Jessica, which
Exactly.
allows me to relax. So I definitely can understand that. So let me ask you this: mental health is super important to
Mhm.
me. I'm a mental health advocate. I believe in things. I know that women struggle sometimes with mental health during pregnancy, after the pregnancy, so postpartum,
Yeah.
or just maybe the duration of being a caregiver for their kids, whatever that looks like, right? Because it may not be the biological mother. But for those women who are struggling with their mental health and are hesitant about seeking assistance, whether that's a counselor, a coach, someone for support, your community, what advice would you give them?
Honestly, I would just say to take your time, but at the same time, ask for help because I know, especially with moms, we kind of put on this super mom title, and sometimes even just asking for help may make us feel like we are less than because we had to ask for help. We may also feel like there's no help available because we're not asking for help. There's sometimes so many people that would love to help us, that could be a blessing to our situation, but we're just too much in our ego and in our pride to ask and say, hey, you know what? I need a hand with this. So I would say, even the first step before even asking for help is just coming to terms with the fact that because you're struggling mentally, it doesn't mean that you're less than or that you're, a lesser person than the next person. We all have our battles. A lot of us just don't see other people's battles. We all go through things, though. Nobody is perfect and above it. But being able to be confident and self assured in yourself to know that, because I'm struggling today or I've been struggling for a few months, it doesn't mean that I'm a weak person. I feel like that for sure is the start. And then the second thing would be actually asking for help. But it really takes for you to really be confident in the person that you are and kind of letting yourself that it's okay to need help, because a lot of times that ego comes into play and we don't want to ask for help, and that's a shame because there's so many people that will probably be willing to help us if we just open our mouth and say, you know what, I'm not okay. And it's okay not to be okay. We all have our days. You see me online 24/7 posting my stuff, uplifting my community, but there's days that I have horrible days that I'm like, what the heck? But at the same time, I'm like very self-aware through, being a mom of 17 years and going through different things and kind of coming up with strategies. It's very easy for me to like pull myself right back in and know when I need to get help. And I'm never going to be ashamed to say the things that, I go through as well. And asking for help, I don't have a problem with that because I know it's going to help me ultimately. And I think that's the thing, especially with social media. It's very easy to feel like it's just you that's going through this because everybody's only posting the highlights of their lives. But just understanding that we're all fighting silent battles, and you're okay to ask for help.
It's okay to not be okay.
Exactly.
You're absolutely right. And for Black and brown women, a lot of times we carry a lot of weight.
Mhm.
Um, we like you say, we have our cape on, so superwoman, and we forget that it's okay to rest, recharge,
Mhm.
relax. It's also okay to take advantage of all the resources that are available, especially when it comes to mental health, which it is. This is May, so it's Mental
Yeah.
Health Awareness Month.
Mhm.
But it's just so important. No one's going to look down on you. So thank you for giving those encouraging words, especially because you can relate, right? Your mother, and your community, that's how you're pouring into women. So definitely appreciate your perspective on that. So, legacy is huge to me. Creating new generational patterns and breaking prior patterns is something that this podcast aims to assist with, as well as me working on myself and becoming a better version of who I am. Through therapy and self love and just investing in myself. So, when you think about the mom wellness cave, and what you're doing, how are you trying to empower women to create, new patterns within your organizations? I know you mentioned specifically your mom was a teenage mom, you were a teenage mom. But when you think about just patterns in general, is there anything that you're doing specifically to help women with breaking some of those patterns?
Yeah, I would say to get out of the mindset of feeling that when you have children, like your life doesn't matter. That's actually my slogan for my organization, my prior organization, and this organization is you matter too. And that's something that I always pretty much drill into moms' heads because a lot of times before they even take the time for things like self-care or anything like that, a lot of times it starts with the mindset, and their mind is not even allowing them to kind of think beyond that. There's been this weird, I don't know, this weird thing of where for a long time, moms have been kind of taught that when you have children, that's the end of your life. Everything you do has to be for your children, which of course, if you're bringing life into the world, they should be your main priority. But I just have a hard time trying to understand how moms don't understand that if you are not pouring into you properly, then in turn you cannot pour into your children properly. And then what type of examples are you setting? And that's one thing that I really, in order to break generational curses or trauma and create these legacies, it has to start with us doing something different, you know. If you as a mom are setting a standard that it's okay for me to take care of myself, it's okay for me to go out time to time and go to an event or do anything for myself, you're not only doing that for yourself to where you're having a good time and you're feeling good and you're pouring into you, you are setting an example for when your kids have their kids. They know my mom took care of herself. I'm going to do the exact same thing. And it's totally okay because my mom still was an amazing mom while doing so. But for a long time, moms have this mom guilt that makes them feel that if they're not just 100% doted to their children, then they're not a good mom. Say, for instance, even the traveling thing. If you travel without your kids, you're not a good mom. It, any parent or mom knows that when you travel with kids, it's not a vacation. Okay, it's not a vacation. You because dealing with those kids in the airplane, in the airport, even with a spouse, you're constantly working, but you have to do it. So why not have your vacation with your kids and your husband, and then maybe you and your husband or your spouse go somewhere separately, or you and your girls go on a vacation separately. There's nothing wrong with that. Just it's all about, I'm not even gonna say balance because well, it's about having a balance, but I'll never tell you the amount of balance you should have. But it's just mainly about making your legacy known that it's okay to take care of yourself and setting those standards for the next generations. Just kind of moving out of that whole mom guilt of if I'm not doing every single thing for my child 100% 24/7, then I'm not a good mom. That's just crazy. And I hate that society has made us feel like that because this is just not true.
Uh, and you're right. I'm sure a lot of mothers put their life on hold, like you said earlier, and they feel guilty for enjoying life as, like you said, Christian.
Mhm.
I'm still a
Yeah.
Christian. I'm a woman, right? I'm a human outside of all of that, so I still should be able to enjoy life. Um, so thinking about, going back to your experience as a teen mom, and I want to create a space where we can give you an opportunity to share. So if
Mhm.
there's a teen mom out there who currently may be pregnant or just giving birth or still young and they're feeling defeated, they're feeling discouraged or, disappointed with themselves and really need to get to a point of forgiving themselves if they're holding on to that. What would be some advice that you would give that young lady?
First of all, I would say that it gets greater later. And I know that sounds so cliche, but what we have to just remember is that time is what you need. You need time. In the beginning, especially if you're a new mom and you have limited help, it's going to be hard. I think a lot of times we, like say for instance, we don't want to fail. We run from a lot of things that are hard, but at the same time, sometimes the hard things are necessary in order to build you into the person that you're meant to be in the future. So just understanding that, and then also understanding that the trajectory of your life for the most part really depends on you and how you think, because it was so easy for me to feel resentment and feel that my life was over, but the moment that I felt that that was not going to be my story, that was not my story. Okay, and I didn't come from a wealthy family or anything like that. Like I struggled very hard with my son, but at the same time, a lot of what we go through is because we feel that we can't get through these hurdles. We feel that is it's a challenge, and it very well may be, but it's a challenge that you can overcome if you just first of all believe in yourself, change your mindset to I can, if you have to do affirmations every day, but also just remember that the person that you are, there's someone that's sitting there watching every single thing you do. They're absorbing everything because you're their hero. You're their hero. So you need to make sure that the outcome of your story is a good one. The same way as when they're watching their TV shows and they're seeing their heroes on TV, they deserve to see their mom as their hero and completing anything in life that she wants to complete. And that would be my main thing to tell people. It's possible. I promise you it's possible. It's possible for you to live whatever life it is that you want, but you have to get through that first barrier of just understanding that there's more to your life and that you deserve more and that you can have more.
You deserve more and you can have more.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, Christian. Well, this is one of my favorite questions for the podcast.
Mhm.
It's one that, as I've gone through my own journey, is important, and it's always an opportunity for reflection. So, if you could have a conversation with younger Christian, what would
Mhm.
you tell her?
If I could have a conversation with younger Christian, I would tell her, girl, you stressing for nothing. You stressing for nothing. You're going to be so great. You're going to impact so many people's lives. You're stressing for nothing. You have the blessing that God gave you, which was your child, is going to be the reason why you impact so many other moms' lives.
Love it. Taking that moment we talked about earlier, right? You were wasn't exactly the way you planned life, but it was God's plan for you. And look at you now and the
Mhm.
impact that you are making on all of these moms and their kids, right? It's gonna have
Yeah.
impact on the mom, the children, their spouse or partner. So very good advice. Well, Christian, is there anything else that you would like to share that you did not get an opportunity to share with us today?
Just for any moms out there, like I said, I have a mom community. If there's any moms in the Detroit community, it's the Mom Wellness Cave. Or if you just need daily inspiration, with what comes from being a mom, we're on all social sites for the Mom Wellness Cave. And yeah, I'm always gonna be the person to encourage you, but I just want to let every mom know that your story doesn't end there and that you matter too.
Love it. Well, thank you, Christian, for being here. I will include your information when I drop this on my YouTube channel so they know how to connect with you as well. But what I will say is, I love what you're doing. I'm not a mom, but I know how important what you're doing is important for our community, for
Mhm.
the women, the children, like I said, their spouses or their partners. It's going to make an impact on the legacy that we're going to be able to leave for the next generation. So thank you for so much of what you're doing. I enjoyed our conversation and I look forward to connecting with you in the future.
Thank you. Thank you as well.
All right. Have a good day.
You too.